Pakistanis are realizing that Pakistan needs India to come out of the hole in which they find themselves. Pakistan is now a basket case. And India is the toast of the town. So Pakistan needs India, India does not need Pakistan. We can follow the template of India and China, where there are very serious political and even territorial disputes, and yet the economic relations have been quite robust, thinking that they can run with the hare and hunt with the hound. That's not on offer. Pakistan really wants to have good relations with India. Pakistan needs to get off its hobby horse of Kashmir. Pakistan has to shut down the jihad factories which have been operating in Pakistan. Pakistan is in a virtual meltdown stage, at least economically. And it is at times like this that very often the mind starts concentrating on important things, at least the rational minds. And some of the rational minds in Pakistan have started weighing on the various options that are available before Pakistan. One is, of course, go back to the IMF, that will bring some temporary relief. Go back to some of Pakistan's old friends, the Saudis, the UAE, China, get some more money for them, which will hold up the Pakistani economy for some more time. But there are others who are now talking about looking at India, opening up trade and economic relations with India, and normalizing relations with India. And what many of these guys are saying is that, look, we can normalize with India, we can follow the template of India and China, where there are very serious political and even territorial disputes, and yet the economic relations have been quite robust. Of course, the Pakistanis often ignore that there has been efforts to decouple the Indian economy from the Chinese one, but that does not matter to them. For now, what they are saying is that we need to look at that template while dealing with India. Now, the short point out here is that the Pakistanis are realizing that Pakistan needs India to come out of the hole in which they find themselves. Now, this is all very well, but what these people are also saying is that it's not just Pakistan which needs this kind of a reset in the relationship with India. This will be just as beneficial to India as it is to Pakistan. Now, their logic is that India is aspiring to become a great power. India is aspiring to become a big economy. It is expected to become the third largest economy by the end of this decade, or at least by the middle of the next decade. And that India cannot achieve her diplomatic, her political and her economic ambitions as long as it does not normalize with Pakistan. If there is a hostile Pakistan on India's borders, then India just does not achieve its ambition. So in the view of these Pakistanis, normalizing with Pakistan is a win-win for both countries. Now, their other point is that if you have a failing, tottering, and extremely hostile Pakistan, then this is going to retard India's growth. This is going to prevent India's rise. Now, the way the Pakistanis sum this up is that, there is that normal glib talk that, look, it's not nations that prosper or grow, it is regions that prosper or grow. Now, this is all very well, but frankly, this is one of those great myths that the Pakistanis nurture to try and find some relevance at a time of growing irrelevance. India needs Pakistan as much as Pakistan needs India so that India can grow and become a major power. Now, this assumption really needs to be questioned and actually demolished. The simple fact of the matter is that while it might be true that Pakistan needs India, the converse is not true. Its importance is now in the context of India, not without India. Otherwise, Pakistan is a bridge to nowhere. It provides connectivity to nothing. But even this connectivity thing has, I think, been taken a bit too far. The fact of the matter remains that Pakistan provides India connectivity to what? To Afghanistan. Afghanistan is not such a big economy. It might have some political relevance and importance for India, but Afghanistan is not the El Dorado. Pakistan can also provide India connectivity through Afghanistan into Central Asia. But Central Asia is an important player in the international system, but it's not a vital economy, for India to tap. And in any case, if India has to reach Central Asia, there are many other routes which are much safer and perhaps even more economical than having to traverse through Pakistan, Afghanistan, and then reaching Central Asia. There is, of course, the entire thing about pipelines coming in through Afghanistan and Pakistan. But I don't think, given the state of relationship between India and Pakistan, any sensible policy maker in India would actually be interested in a sense, becoming hostage to India's energy security or making India's energy security hostage to Pakistan, which can prevent the oil and gas from flowing into those pipelines at will, something which a former president of Pakistan had once threatened to do in a conversation with a former Indian diplomat. Many of the countries which actually thought or about whom it is thought that Pakistan is too dangerous to fail are watching it go down the tube. We see the Americans and the Europeans not really moving to assist Pakistan at this point in time, letting the IMF actually dictate terms to Pakistan. We also see Pakistan's traditional friends in the Gulf and in China not really rising up to the occasion and bailing out Pakistan. So clearly this too dangerous to fail thing is not working anymore for Pakistan. As far as Pakistan's geostrategic location making it so vital to the rest of the world, I think that's another myth, and increasingly that's being shown up. For example, the geostrategic relevance was in the context of Afghanistan in the past. But Afghanistan's story is over. So who needs Pakistan anymore? If Pakistan has any geostrategic relevance, it's in terms of geoeconomics, which means connectivity to India. So in that context, the importance of Pakistan is vis-a-vis India, not the other way around. But this is one of the big myths that the Pakistanis have often fallen back upon, and clearly this myth no longer holds true because it's been shown up for what it is. Simple fact of the matter is that from the early 1990s, the trajectory of the two countries is vastly different. If you look at the trajectory from 1990, India's growth has been unstoppable and it's already become the fifth largest economy of the world. Pakistan's growth has been stalled. The 90s was a lost decade. And in fact, the last almost 10 years have also proven to be a lost decade for Pakistan. So Pakistan is now a basket case and India is the toast of the town. So clearly there is really nothing that Pakistan can do to stall India's growth. nor is there anything that Pakistan can do to assist India's growth. So I think in a sense, the decoupling between India and Pakistan is complete. Now, one could talk about Pakistan having a major impact on India if it was politically important for India in terms of India's political stability, if it was important for India in an economic sense, which clearly it is not, and if it had some other dimensions which could either assist India's growth or stall India's growth. And I don't think any of those factors operate anymore. So the question then is, what does Pakistan bring to the table? And frankly, the answer to that is very little. Now, in terms of trade, which is virtually non-existent right now, because Pakistan is a past master at cutting its nose to spite India's face, and after the constitutional reforms in Kashmir in 2019, the Pakistanis decided that they are going to sever all trade connections with India, which is okay. It didn't make any difference to India because trade with Pakistan, even at its height, was just about $2.5 billion. And I'm talking about the direct trade, not whatever indirect trade might be happening, which is continuing regardless of whether Pakistan has imposed a trade ban on India or not. So the formal trade, direct trade between India and Pakistan was roughly around $2.5 billion. This is both imports and exports, which is less than 0.25% of India's total foreign trade. Now, I don't think there can be any decoupling which goes beyond this. So clearly, Pakistan simply does not enter into any economic calculation of India. The converse again might not be true because Pakistan will find some market, Pakistan will find some relevance, Pakistan will find sources of much cheaper raw materials which its industry and trade needs from India. But I don't think the converse is true again. So Pakistan needs India, India does not need Pakistan. The important part is that the Pakistanis somehow seem to believe that they can continue to maintain a hostile political relationship with India and still have a profitable economic relationship with India. Little realizing that a lot has changed in India and that equation no longer holds true anymore. So one, they have to get off, thinking that they can run with the hare and hunt with the hound. That's not on offer anymore. Equally important, I think the Pakistanis need to understand that they cannot hold India's growth and India's progress hostage. If they don't want to have good relations with India, they don't want to normalize with India, it's no skin off India's nose. India can very easily afford to look the other way and keep moving on the path it is moving. It is the Pakistanis who will have to suffer the consequences of that particular event. So they need to get over this delusion of theirs that they can hold India's progress hostage. They take their lunacy to the next level when they claim and they declare that normalization with India, which they need, India doesn't need. Normalization with India is only possible after India settles the Kashmir issue. Now, that's crazy really, because here is a guy who actually needs a good relationship but is holding it hostage and demanding that another country, another nation actually breaks itself up so that it can satisfy the irredentism of Pakistan. Now clearly that's not going to happen. The Pakistanis also need to realize that even if India was inclined to open up and normalize relations with India, India would not do any such thing at the cost of India's territorial integrity and India's sovereignty. That's just not on offer. And this is going to be a non-starter. So, if Pakistan really wants to have good relations with India, Pakistan needs to get off its hobby horse of Kashmir, number one. Pakistan also needs to end the kind of inimical behavior it has had towards India, and most importantly, it needs to de-indoctrinate its people. That injection of radicalism and fanaticism and hatred of the India and the Hindu, which has been fed to its people, has to be reversed for a normal relationship between the two countries. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. But most of all, Pakistan has to shut down the jihad factories which have been operating in Pakistan. It needs to forswear the temptation or the tendency to dabble in India's internal affairs, to raise movements like the Khalistan movement and other such characters to try and pinprick India. As long as this continues, I am afraid there is going to be no normalization between India and Pakistan. There is going to be no cooperation between India and Pakistan, and that is something, the cost of which that the Pakistanis will have to bear. So this is something they need to keep in mind before they start talking about looking towards India as a possible outlet out of the kind of hole they find themselves in.